Jin Shin Jyutsu, what is it all about? A lot of, also friends of mine, keep on asking me, what is it that you are doing? And first of all, where does it come from? So that's actually the easiest reply. It's a Japanese energy healing art. It's not a technique, it's an art. For who would like to see how we spell it, this is actually the latest version of Jin Shin Jyutsu in Italian. It's what I call my Bible, because I keep on reading it since 15 years already. That's also the years that I keep on studying Jin Shin Jyutsu. How did I get to know Jin Shin Jyutsu? As most of us, at some point in our life, something happens that may be on a physical level, on a mental level, and we are looking for help. Now, in my case, I had a back problem. I had various accidents and had a situation where I just couldn't keep on living the way I was doing. And this really brings me to what Jin Shin Jyutsu means to me. It's about change. And as we all know, change sometimes it's not something easy to do, and we may need help that supports us during moments of change. And to me, Jin Shin Jyutsu did that. Although apparently my issue, or the way we call it in Jin Shin Jyutsu project, was my back pain, but really underneath, the way we call it in Jin Shin Jyutsu, the cause of the effect was very different. So the effect, in my case, was a back pain. The cause was much deeper. And I, again, through Jin Shin Jyutsu, managed to find out what the cause was. And not only that we realize what it is that we need to change, but Jin Shin Jyutsu automatically brings us into the change. And it happens very elegantly. We sometimes don't even realize that we are going through moments of big change, but that is the way it works. Jin Shin Jyutsu helps us through the touch of our hands that we are using on energetic points. We call it safety energy locks, which are points of access in our body. It also helps us through the breathing, because the breath is our main instrument that brings us into change. If you think about it, with each breath that we do, we leave the past and we go into something new. In that passage between the past and the future, we are in the present. However, even when we are in the present, it still means change, because the present I am in right now is different to the present I was in 5 minutes ago, or that I will be in within 5 minutes. So although we use that idea of being in the present, again, present means change. What could be a reason why we are reluctant to change? For me personally, change always meant something highly positive. In my whole life, I've always been seeking for change. But there may be situations where we know exactly it is time to change now, but for some reason we don't do it. And we already dive into what the heart is of Jin Shin Jyutsu, because the reasons, we can explain them through our hand, the fingers of our hand. Each finger is related to something that we call an attitude. We talk about 5 main attitudes. This does not mean that I am not supposed to be living these 5 attitudes. It only means that we are not supposed to be stuck into any of those 5 attitudes. Most of you have already practiced Jin Shin Jyutsu when you were a newborn. I'm sure most of you did. That is when you sucked your thumb. Why does the newborn suck the thumb? Because it does work on the stomach and spleen function energy. And those are the 2 main function energies that we have that help us to get into this physical body that we are in, to also create that physical body. And if you think about it, of course, it's in the first years of our life that physical body changes a lot. So it also needs a lot of nutrition. Everything that's nutrition needs to be digested. So from the milk to any other thing that we are ingesting, we need to digest. To digest, we need our stomach and spleen function energy. Stomach helps us in the assimilation of the food. Spleen helps us to absorb the sun energy from the food and to assimilate it and to diffuse or to bring that energy to all of the different body function energies that we have in our body, and of course to every single cell of our body. We also call the spleen function energy our main energy charger, because it brings us vital energy from the sun that is included in the food that we eat, and from there it gets transformed and it becomes nutrition for the cells, for our physical body. The second finger, the index finger, is related to the attitude of fear. And fear can be something that we are facing without even acknowledging us. Very often we have fear, not in a direct way that we fear to lose something very precious. It can also be fear to, for example, arrive late at an appointment. It can be fear talking about appointments when we go to the dentist. In fact, the index finger, we always recommend to hold it when you go to the dentist. And when we say we work on the attitude of fear, then on the physical body, that is related to our back, to the spine, but also in general to the back of our body. And the back of our body is related to the past. It also means the fear to let go of the past, which very often we know that when we have old memories or even old ideas that we are sticking to, that also is just a form of an attitude of fear. Everything that translates into back problems, so from slip discs to fractured discs to protrusions, anything that is back issues or scoliosis, in Jin Shin Jyutsu belongs to primarily to the attitude of fear and to the two energy functions related to it, which is the bladder energy and the kidney energy. And simply through holding on to my index finger, I can harmonize these two energies. The third finger, the middle finger, is related to the attitude of anger. The two energies related to it are the gallbladder and the liver energy. And again, anger is something that can manifest in various forms. So it does not necessarily mean that you are a person that always shouts or that has strong outcomes of anger, but it can also be an anger that you actually don't show. And that's even worse. So what we do in Jin Shin Jyutsu, again, we hold on to our middle finger. And what it does, it helps us to calm down in an actual situation of anger. So let's say you take the car here in Rome, where I live, and you go into the traffic, and surely after not more than 1 minute, the first situation will come up where you would want to show your middle finger. And what we do is we just hold on to it. Anger also means if we cannot live our creativity. And in times of social media, although, as you can see, I am using them as well. A lot of young people, for example, they use social media for hours and hours every day. It unfortunately very often cuts down on our creativity. And the younger we are, the more usually we need to live our creativity. And if we don't do it, then this may turn into a situation of anger because we cannot express ourselves. The ring finger is related to the attitude of sadness. And I sometimes like to build the bridge to the, to the attitude of sadness when I say, well, this is usually where we carry our, the wedding ring. And with that, I don't want to say that each and every marriage will sooner or later bring us to the attitude of sadness. But again, we have the opposites. So we have happiness and sadness. And usually when we start a marriage, we start with the attitude of happiness, which may turn into sadness. And the two energies that are related are the large intestine energy and also the lung function energy. And if you pay attention, usually people that live in that attitude of sadness will never do a big breath. Because what happens if they would do a big breath is they would get rid of their sadness immediately. The breathing again helps us in the change from the past to the future. It helps us to let go of the past, and the moment I'm empty, the moment I have let go, I'm ready for something new. The same happens in terms of the large intestine. Again, it helps us to let go of the past. And if the intestine is empty, then we have a very strong digestive power, and then we are ready to get new food, which can be physical food or also mental food. And then the last finger is the pinky finger, and it is related to the pretense, or we also call it trying too hard to. And it means that if you are a person that always says yes, so you already have lots of things piling up on your desk and somebody throws you something else and asks whether you can help on yet another project, and you say yes, although you know that you are not able to do it because you're already overloaded with work, then this could be the finger for you to work on. If you're carrying, we call it like a mask. If you have fear to show yourself the way you are, it's related to the heart and to the small intestine energy. Holding on to your pinky finger helps you to move out of that attitude. And then we have the palm of our hand that's related to the diaphragm and the umbilical function. And these are the two functions that help us to reconnect to our eternal source of energy. And usually I would have started off with the eternal source of energy, because when we start talking about energy healing, then I remember that my very first question was, well, where does energy come from? So I understand that we may have problems in our body with the specific energy pathways, but where do I initially take the energy from? Is there people that have lots of energy? Is there people that have few energy? Well, the reply is that we all have that eternal source of energy, as we call it, the source of all sources, available at any time of the day and the night, 24 hours on 24. But we need to reconnect to it. And there's two ways to do so. One, I'm sure that all of you are doing it, because if you weren't doing it, then you wouldn't be sitting here. It's the breath. So the moment I stop breathing, the eternal source of energy will not be available for me anymore. The moment the vital energy does not enter my body anymore, there's no life force anymore, and all of the physical functions will stop working. Now you could say, well, luckily on that side I'm doing well because I'm breathing all of the time, which is great. But there's different types of breathing. So we can do a superficial breathing, which is using 20% maybe of our lung capacity. Or I can do a deep breathing. And then I can use up to 90% of my lung capacity, or if you're good in it, even more. Now, what is the difference? Of course, a deep breath is highly regenerating, but in particular, it is a massage to all of the organs that are next or very close to the diaphragm, which is the heart, the liver, and the stomach. For those of you that are practicing yoga, I'm sure you are practicing something like maybe Uddiyana Bandha. So we have different types or techniques of breathing that help us to stimulate the deep breath. In Jin Shin Jyutsu, we have a very simple exercise which I would like to share with you already now, because I would like you to be able to start immediately with your practice. And we call it the 36 big breaths. And what you do is that you place your hands underneath your armpits and you sit with your spine upright and you relax your shoulders and you count 36 big deep breaths. And we will not be doing the 36 here now together, otherwise the video will be too long. But it's an exercise that I would like you to try even on a daily basis. Maybe you find that it's very calming and you would like to do it even 2 or 3 times per day. You can never over practice. So this is the first connection to that eternal source of energy through the breath. The second is through specific holds of our hands that we are practicing. First, you have already learned, which is through the touch of our fingers. So simply wrapping the hand around the finger. If you do remember those 5 attitudes that we have been talking about, if you're not too sure which one is the attitude that you would like to work on, then you just simply do all of the fingers. Now, if you look at the fingers, they all belong to the same hand and are connected to the same palm of the hand. And it makes you understand that all of those attitudes are always interrelated. So if I say I'm an angry person, then yes, I would probably like to work mainly on the liver and gallbladder energy. However, all of them work together. So it always makes sense to work on all of the fingers, to hold on to all of the fingers and not only to one. Second one is through the safety energy locks. We have 26 safety energy locks in our body, access points to the energy pathways in our body. You find them, for example, for who of you has the book on hand. They are in the cover on the first page and also on the last page. And you find here where those are located in the front of the body, and on the last page where you find them in the back of the body. I would suggest to you to start off through holding your fingers. For those of you that have a book, and of course you can also start doing different exercise, you can watch the more than 200 videos that you find on my Instagram and Facebook channel. And of course, we also offer self-help lessons. So those are structured classes that you can get in replay as well. Sometimes we do them as well in-person classes, and it helps you to dive into Jin Shin Jyutsu. However, the most important, as in most of the new practices that we start in life, it's important to start immediately and to do it. It doesn't matter that much which area you're holding on to, but it's important that you start to get into it on a daily basis. So we recommend to do at least 30 minutes per day. And you could start off simply with holding onto your fingers. If you do that every day, then I'm sure you will feel a big difference. And again, as we said, initially, Jin Shin Jyutsu brings you into change. It helps you to go through periods of change. Now, change is something that happens every second, but there may be moments of our life where the changes are more intense, which could be for us women, for example, in menopause. As a matter of fact, we have a special program for women in menopause. Or it can also be when you're expecting a baby. So those are usually moments where we need a stronger support. For me personally, Jin Shin Jyutsu is part of my life, or I would even go further and say that I am part of Jin Shin Jyutsu. The more you study it, the more you find out that nothing in our world is not related to Jin Shin Jyutsu. And whatever I do, my consciousness is always in Jin Shin Jyutsu. I'm very passionate about it because I've seen big results on myself and also on lots of other people that are following also the self-help classes. I've seen big results as well in colleagues that are practicing since many years. And as per usual, if we find something that we are very passionate about, then we love the idea to share it with others. And that's why I wanted to address this small introduction video to you. And if you'd like to know more about it, you can contact me. You find all of my details just underneath this video. And I invite you to start holding onto your finger, maybe also remembering one or the other attitude that we are working on when you hold onto your finger. And that's welcome to Jin Shin Jyutsu. Help is in your hands.